Persona 3 has finally come to all platforms, but in the worst possible way. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Persona 3. I never got a chance to play Persona 3 Portable though, and this could have been my opportune chance to, but as soon as things started to come out about the game, I realized very quickly this was going to be a terrible port. Now, I made several videos within the topic of Persona 3 Remake, or Persona 3 Deserved Better, and it genuinely still holds true. I recommend you watch the Persona 3 Deserved Better one because that gives you a better insight to how to play Persona 3 in a lot more of an HD way than whatever the hell this port was. Primarily, you should not get this game on PlayStation or Xbox, especially if you have a 4K TV. You want to know why? You want to know specifically why the visual novel aspect of this game is genuinely going to look like a blurry mess. If you looked at one of the images for this game, I think it was the classroom image, you'd just be like, oh my god, this game looks depressing. I mean, it is a depressing game, but it makes it look like you're in a haunted school borderline, and I'm just like sitting here like, oh my god, this is a little I know it sort of pretty much looked like this in original Persona 3 Portable. I don't mean to knock it too hard because obviously they took some screenshots from Fuzz and put it into here, which is good for a PSP screen, but to upscale it with Waifu 2X is honestly jarring to say the least. And then other sections that are supposed to have more detail and more of a colorful aspect to it, or just, you know, showing off Persona 3 is just lost with whatever upscaling technology they use, which is most likely Waifu 2X. Now, don't get me wrong, I think for the time these backgrounds look really well. I personally think these still look very blurry on emulation even, especially if you have a big monitor or a 2K monitor, for instance. But when the official company releases a game with pretty much worse quality than emulation quality, there is a huge problem with whoever oversaw this project and thought this was okay. Another problem with the port is the audio problems. How can you screw it up that bad that the PSP version sounds better than what you've provided, Atlus? It's the same thing with the Nocturne release. They released it with a really compressed PS2 audio OST, but then did quality of life improvements like voicing every single character.
Here goes. Here goes.
But I guess my main issue is if the PSP version sounds better than the version you released, I think releasing Persona 3 Portable in this piss poor state is honestly humiliating. And this goes back to my last point, when the primary focus is the visual novel aspect of the game, it becomes very apparent that if you have, you know, voice lines sounding compressed and sound effects sounding compressed in the Tartarus sections of the area, it becomes just very apparent that they didn't really care to release this in a decent quality as what Persona 3 Portable Original was released in, when even though it was compressed, it sounds better than the version that you're getting here, oddly enough. And the last problem with the Persona 3 Portable port is the fact that you cannot choose what skills you get when you fuse personas. This is a huge problem and has been addressed in future games. The fact that Atlus didn't want to adjust this part of the code to make it so it was possible just goes to show how lazy this port actually was. They had to do the same thing in the Nocturne port, but for whatever reason it slipped their minds. Now, I am very open-minded to the fact that this was a PSP game at one point, and the fact that there was going to be a few issues here and there. But the issues presented here is just really, really bad. I think Danganronpa was just a PSP game at one point, and they ported it to like all platforms, and that game still looks really good despite it being just from the PSP game. For the visual novel aspect of it, and just the world in general, or where you walk around. I'm not saying the world because it's, you know, just sections, but you get what I'm saying. It just is sad to see such potential just wasted on this port. And if they were intending to just waifu 2x all the backgrounds, they probably were better off remaking the backgrounds. Atlus has a talented art team. I don't see why they couldn't have done that. There's just a lot of things that they could have done to go out of their way to preserve Persona 3 Portable in its finest, but they decided they are not going to do that, which really stinks for the long run for Persona 3 and new people trying to get into it. Now, I hope Atlus potentially has a remake in development for Persona 3 to kind of give newcomers a better way to play Persona 3 instead of this port, but I'm not going to hold my breath too hard on that. I really hope they actually remake 1 and 2 because those games really need it, especially 1. I rage quit 1 for puzzle reasons and maze reasons. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to ramble about it, okay? And then Persona 2, obviously, like, it's a very amazing game from what I hear, and it's just a shame that it's still stuck on the PSP. You know what? Don't remaster Persona 2. Please remake it, because I don't want it to be anything like this Persona 3 Portable port, because this is just awful. With that all being said, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Did you pick up the Persona 3 remaster? I surely didn't. How's your playthrough been? I heard my friend actually picked it up for the Switch and the pause menu was blurry. Interesting. But if you have anything more to say on the issues of Persona 3 Portable, please put in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed my take on things, please like the video and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. With that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.